Well, everybody, welcome to a special episode of Christ-like with your awesome hosts, Chris and Renee Lascow.
Hey guys.
That's right. Usually it's Aiden, but we felt like we're going to interview Aiden this time.
Yes.
Yay.
I know.
I have a dentist appointment.
No, it's too late. So, yeah.
Yeah, Aiden. So, tell us a brief history about yourself.
Yep.
Our audience want to know more about you.
Okay, so as you guys may know, because maybe you listen to this, maybe it's your first time listening, but my name is Aiden Lascow. I grew up at the time my dad wasn't a pastor, but I grew up in a family where my parents really didn't get along, and at a young age, my parents, they separated, and I spent some time going back and forth between mom and dad, and for a long time. And as a young child, I developed this. Do you know what detachment is?
Yes.
The idea of detachment.
Yeah.
People always explain it as a good thing, right?
Yeah.
You need to detach from certain things. But as a kid, I used detachment as a coping mechanism because I would always go between mom and dad, and the way I connected with them, and I kind of split the worlds.
Yeah.
So when I went to my mom's house, the only thing that existed was the people there. I didn't even think about the other side at all. Like 0%. Then I would go to my dad's. The same thing would happen. And my dad kind of noticed, and he's like, this is a problem. This isn't really healthy for my kid to go through.
Yeah.
And then something happened between my stepdad there and me. An incident happened, and kind of my mom found out about it. And because of that incident, my mom divorced that guy.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with me. It was a problem that was already going on, but I was just caught in between.
You were the catalyst.
Yeah, I was the catalyst. But because I was the catalyst, my mom kind of found out what was going on.
Yeah.
And they separated because of that. And I really, it's weird because when you're a kid, you connect the dots where there are no dots.
Yeah.
So, in my head, I messed up, I misbehaved, and now this happened. So it was my fault.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it. So I have step siblings, and I was always close with them because we went through the same thing. We went from parent to parent, and I always blamed myself for why they don't have a good relationship with their father.
Yeah.
Because of what happened there.
Yeah.
And I kind of carried around that unnecessary burden of just like, it's my fault that you have a bad life.
Yeah.
I always told myself it's my fault you have a bad life. And I don't know, because I went from mom and dad, and it was the complete opposite of this, by the way, because both my parents, they loved me a lot, and they would do anything for me. But because, I even heard my dad and my mom fight about where I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
And I overheard that one day, and I thought, my parents really don't want me to be with them because they're both fighting over me, like how hard it is to get. My mom's like, it's so hard for me to see my son.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, my dad just wants to send me off to my mom. My mom just wants to send me off to my dad.
Yeah.
So, growing up, I just felt like a burden, I think.
Yeah.
And it's not because because like I said, it's the complete opposite. Like, they wanted to see me, they were mad because they wanted to see me.
Yeah.
But,
and you were just a kid at that time. You just knew so much.
And you heard only a part of the conversation.
I only heard the section of it.
And then you connected those dots the best way your brain could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. How was it, what the divorce, or was that a big issue in the Romanian community? you know?
From my perspective, I had no idea.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, there was this one time my mom, we were supposed to do the drop off.
Yeah.
And my mom brought me to Elim. It was Elim at the time. It still is Elim, but we're not there.
Yeah.
She brought me to Elim, and she said hi to some of the people there. And remember, I told you the detachment thing. My brain couldn't connect the two worlds because that was my coping mechanism, like I said. So when my mom said hi to someone that I knew, I was just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, this world is connected to this world. Like, that's insane.
Wow.
Right? And I literally couldn't connect the two. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know how to explain it. Like, when I was there, I couldn't even dream about the two sides. Like, I couldn't even dream about my stepsister seeing, or my half-sister, not my stepsister, my half-sister meeting my dad. And then one day it happened, and my brain, I literally, like, I couldn't process it.
Dang. It's
the weirdest thing ever. So even now, it's not at that level, but I still have a sense of, like for New Year's, my half siblings came in for New Year's, and they're like, we want to go to your church. And I couldn't. They're like, we want to go to your church. And I was literally like, I can't. Yeah. I didn't tell them, like, now they know now because they're listening. Yeah. But I couldn't tell them, I can't.
Like, my brain can't go there.
I can't connect the two. I literally had separate worlds.
Yeah.
And that's why even now I struggle with the idea of letting people in.
Yeah. Obviously.
Because, like, I'm detached.
You're protecting yourself.
Yeah. So it's still a new concept to me, letting people in and letting people see that I'm vulnerable.
Well, hopefully this helps.
Yeah.
You know, sharing your testimony will help.
Yeah, well, one of the experiences that I've had, you know, just sharing my testimony, it's brought so much freedom in my life. So I really believe that you doing this is going to bring a lot of breakthrough in your life.
Yeah.
Share with us some of the difficulties or challenges that you had.
Oh, okay. This is a good one. I remember the first time my mom, you know, the split happened between her and the other guy.
Yeah.
And she moved to Chicago. And it was the first time I had to go on a flight by myself to Chicago because my mom was like, I really want to see him. Bring him here.
Yeah.
So the first time I went, I flew on a plane by myself. My dad was super freaked out to the point where it was winter time in Chicago, and it was Arizona, and my dad dressed me up in this big sweater, this big fluffy sweater, and I'm like, Dad, I'm super hot. Like, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna die. And my dad's like, hey, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
He said it's gonna be okay, and I still remember that. And because he said those words, it's gonna be okay, I went on the plane, and I don't know, that was like every time I would go on a plane from that point on, I would think to myself, it's gonna be okay.
That's your anchor. Yeah,
that was awesome. Like every summer after that, I would go on the plane, and every time I got on that plane, like a lot of people feel anxiety when they go on planes. Me, I'm the complete opposite.
It's gonna be okay.
I tell people, I'm like, you know, I feel at peace when I'm on planes. They're like, you're a psychopath. But literally, like, it was my anchor. Like, once I got on the plane, I'm like, I don't know. I saw the plane as, like, the bridge between two worlds.
Yeah.
You know, like I got on the plane and I said bye to my dad. And after I said bye to my dad, that world just turned off. So it was like the bridge between two worlds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tell us what helped you overcome those challenges, and what did you practically do?
So another struggle was, like I said, the first time I went to go visit my mom. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink. The first time I went to go visit my mom, I heard, it was at a really young age, I heard her cry.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, I don't know if you've heard your parents cry, but I heard, like, the hurt in her voice.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I went home And that's when I went to my grandma's. Like, my dad is like, okay, you're going to your grandma's.
Yeah.
So then I got the whole I'm a burden,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I went to go live with my grandparents, and I told Booney, and I said, Booney, my mom is, she's hurting, and she's not okay. How do I get through this?
Yeah.
How can I help her? And she said, I don't remember exactly what she said. All I remember is she's saying is, let's pray. So, like, as a young child, I just went through, for the next 2 years, I just, like, prayed. I prayed about it. Like a little kid, a little third grader,
Yeah.
little fourth grader, just praying. I wouldn't say every day, but every other day. Please help my mom be okay.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but like as a little kid, I understood that my parents have flaws.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids, even now, they're like, my parents are perfect. And I'm like, that's not true.
No.
Because
No, it's
I've
not.
seen that for a long time. Another one that I remember is actually you guys. You guys helped me in a way that I wasn't expecting at the time. But I don't remember how it started. But you guys brought me to a store, both of you, and you bought clothes for me. you
I
did my
remember
hair.
I remember that.
And I remember thinking every time
I think you went through a makeover season.
Yeah,
I think
it
I
was.
helped you through that
You-
process.
You helped me through that.
Which
but-
is my favorite thing to do. I love doing makeovers on people.
I remember that.
But,
you know?
but I remember the whole I feel like a burden thing. Like
Yeah.
every time I would go to this, like she's like, pick out shoes, and I'm like, you want to buy me shoes? You know?
Yes.
And I went over to her and I'm like, these are $40. Like I felt so bad, and she's like, I don't care.
You
I'm
know,
buying
it's
them
so
for you."
crazy because I actually remember that time in your life. And let me tell you my side of the story. When I was going through that with you, I heard the Lord tell me, Aiden is going through a really huge identity crisis, and I need you to help him, but on the outwards. Like help him find who he is, but on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we did like
I remember.
the haircut. We went to go get you all these
I
clothes.
remember.
Styled.
Yeah, I want to, we styled you. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of just behind the scenes, kind of what I was going through.
That's pretty cool.
In that moment.
But that moment really helped me because it helped me find confidence. And I'm like, oh, I can do whatever. I can wear whatever I want. And I don't have to feel like normally when I would go and buy clothes, or just in general, like I said, I felt disconnected from everyone. And I felt like a burden, but that was the first time where I went somewhere and I didn't feel like a burden. I could pick whatever I wanted. I could do all that stuff. So that really gave me leeway to kind of find who I am by myself, So
Isn't it crazy that like clothes can do that?
Yeah, fashion or but it's awesome because it was that moment in his life where, or in your life, Aiden, where you were like, you needed to like get a new do and get some new clothes just to like become different, like grow up,
Yeah, and kind of rebuilt that confidence.
Yeah.
Like to build a confidence
Exactly.
in your outwear.
yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty.
But I don't know. Somewhere a long time ago, my mom got with another guy. She went through a couple guys. I still prayed for her, and there was somewhere a long time ago, one summer, I was just really alone, and I needed someone, and they just weren't there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Something broke. I heard my mom struggle, and something broke.
Yeah.
At that point, I decided I don't need anyone.
Yeah.
I went through a phase where I decided I'm going to do it all by myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that in that moment of struggle where I needed someone, there was someone, That's why I didn't want to do this episode.
It's all right. It's all right.
I've had this podcast for like 2 years.
There's healing happening, and it's not only you, Aiden, that's getting healing. There is people that have walked the same walk as you have.
Oh yeah.
And you are giving them an opportunity to have a voice to talk about what they've gone through, because it is so easy to just stuff it inside of you and just pretend it's not there. But when you talk about it and when you share your story, it brings you healing, and it brings healing to others. And it gives
you're putting words to emotions
Yes.
that people are feeling right now, that went through exactly the same thing, and they're like, "Oh my God, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It is dissociation. Oh my God, it is depression. You know, it is this like identity thing. Oh yeah, and it like you're giving it a face. You're giving it a name.
Yeah.
You know,
but in the moment, it didn't start as depression. It didn't start as anything. It just felt like I need something.
Yeah.
And I just need someone.
Yeah.
And like I said, they weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided at that point, I'm just going to be by myself.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone. And I did that for a while.
Yeah.
You know, I still, right? That's when I was a pastor's kid. I was grandson.
Yeah.
And Bruno even gave me the talk, like, you have to make sure that you have a smile when you go to church, and everything has to be okay in front of the public, right? And you know, and I kind of picked up on that too.
To play the politics.
To play the part, and you know, I played the part, I think, too well, because no one knew anything that was going on in my head. You know, the battles I was facing. For some reason, I don't know. I was so good at hiding it because I've done it for so long. Like I even noticed there was a point where I used it for good though. I used it for good. There was moments where I saw that people were sad because of what life was happening to them, and I'm like, I know the situation that's going on, but I'm gonna pretend like I don't. And I'm gonna pretend like I'm an ignorant kid.
Yeah, and you got it all together
to make people happy.
Yeah.
So I played the role of ignorant child.
Yeah. So
people wouldn't know my pain.
Yeah, we hide it well.
Yeah. I think I was too good at it.
Especially pastors' kids. We know how to hide it well. Yeah. And I think there is a lot of people out there that, you know, even if you're not a pastor's kid, but people out there that your family and your parents have a reputation, you know, and you hear those words. Like, you have a reputation, you got to act a certain way. You want anybody looking. Or
you're a Lasco, you better act like one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we heard all the time. Mm-hmm. You know,
Aiden, what is some advices that you can give to young people that come from a broken family?
Yeah.
I want to just say now, you're not a burden. It took me a while to realize that.
Wait. You know what? Say it again. No, for real.
You're not a burden.
Yeah. You're not a burden.
Yeah. And it took me so long. Even last year, I still felt like one, and it took me a friend to tell me that I'm not, to finally sink in, because I don't know. I've always felt like everyone says, I'm a mama's boy. I'm a daddy's girl. Yeah. And I always say I'm neither.
Yeah.
I've never felt connected, like truly connected to either one, because I had the two worlds, separate, and it was so easy for me to shut it off.
Yeah. That
I never felt truly connected to either one side. So I just think people need to hear you're loved and reach out to people, because they do care.
Yeah.
Right? People want to be, in your presence. Because a lot of times, even now, I have this problem of self-isolation.
Yeah. For
no reason. And it's deep-rooted in the fact that no one was there when I needed it, so I don't need to be there.
Yeah,
for other people, So I think someone needs to really hear that you're not a burden, and people do care, and people want to know, and it's not good to hold it inside.
Yeah, not at all. Did question that just came to mind about was forgiveness. How did you go through that process of forgiving either yourself, to tell yourself, I didn't do this, it wasn't my fault,
Yeah.
and and how did you go through a process of forgiving, you didn't blame your mom or dad, and forgiving them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was a long time where, like I said, I did blame myself for what happened.
Yeah.
And then I heard the full story, and it was forgiveness of myself, but then it was realizing that it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. And I think some people need to hear this. It's not your fault what happened.
Yeah.
Like whatever happened to you in your past, it happened, and you don't need to carry that burden, because that's what Jesus is for. He came, you give him your burdens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember when I got that first started, one of my Sunday school teachers, they said, you know your burdens, give them to the Lord. And that was real for me. I don't know, because it was like I was in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And that was real for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was real for everyone there, because, you don't know what everyone's going through. But for me, it just really clicked, That's not your fault, Breathe. You can keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Aiden, thank you so much for being brave and just like sharing your story. And I know that it's going to touch a lot of people's hearts. And I'm just praying that you just continue to share your story, and you'll see it's just going to really help a lot of people out there, and it's going to bring more healing in your life. Yeah,
and I think in your generation, our generation, because of the rate of the broken family, how high it is, I think your story is crucial. Yes. Because people need to hear, one, it's not their fault, and two, they're not a burden.
Yeah.
And when they feel broken and when they feel alone, that Jesus literally is the answer.
Yeah.
When he says, cast your burdens upon me and I will make you make it light for you. Like, that's reality.
Yeah.
And to be able to find peace and to be able to move past that, forgive the ones that, like, they made mistakes.
Yeah.
And realizing that, like, we're people and we mess up all the time. As parents, we mess up all the time. I tell our kids all the time, like, hey, this is the first time I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
And I think
literally,
I think also, like I said, the moment I heard, my mom in pain and I saw her crying, at a young age, I saw the realization, my parents aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And I still couldn't connect the idea that my parents aren't perfect. But it's still my fault. I still saw it like
I know,
that,
because the devil's beautiful at, like, telling you that it's your fault, and then you're the problem.
Also, I wanted to say one more thing.
Yeah.
If you've been in a situation where you've needed someone and they weren't there, don't self-isolate. Don't tell yourself, I got it myself. Because,
on that note, who were the people that, like, helped you, like, turn to, like, when you self-isolated and you were, like, who were some of the people that, like, helped you? And you don't got to be naming names, but
So, when I did the self-isolation thing, I hid it for a while, and I fell into depression, and I got suicidal.
Yeah.
I went all the way down to that ceiling, probably beyond that ceiling.
To that floor.
And I've gotten to the point where I've written letters about
Yeah. Yeah.
saying bye to my dad. I
Yeah.
wrote letters for
Yeah.
it. And I found them and I burned them, obviously. But I remember writing letters. And I don't know why, but a couple years before I fell into that depression, this guy from our church, he just randomly gave me a guitar.
Yeah.
And I've never been gifted anything as a kid, right? Like, it's the first time I felt like someone genuinely wanted to give me something for my better, which is obviously not the case. I'm not trying to say that happened, but that's how I felt. Yeah. And he gave it to me, and when am I going to use this?
Yeah.
And throughout high school, when I was in that depression, and like, instead of doing it, instead of harming myself or going through with what I was planned on doing, I went to my guitar.
That's awesome.
I learned music, and I explored different things, and I fell in love with music.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, they want to credit themselves when they go through something. They're like, I fell into depression, and I was the one that helped me through.
Myself up from my bootstraps.
I pulled myself from that.
Yeah.
And you always hear that. I was there for me.
Yeah.
No one else was there for me, but I was there for me. And to an outside perspective or someone that's in the world, that may be true.
Yeah.
But we know that we have Jesus, and Jesus was there for me when I didn't have anyone. Yeah. When all I had was a pillow to hug.
Yeah.
And in the guitar, he was there for me. And
he used the guitar. Like, I bet you he spoke to that man and was like, Aiden needs a guitar. And he was obedient about, okay, and gave you a guitar. He just gave
me, and it was an expensive guitar too. And I'm like, why you?
Yeah, and that guitar, God knew that guitar was the thing to like anchor you or to like just help,
So the third point I wanted to make is you didn't help yourself through it.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, the first one, it's not your fault. You're not a burden. It's not your fault. Those are uplifting things. Yeah. But this one, I want to say, you didn't help yourself through your struggles. The Lord was there with you. It's not all you. Yeah. Don't take the credit for your healing, because it's not. You
didn't heal yourself.
You didn't heal yourself. Yeah. So there were people there for you. For me, I feel like there wasn't. But then looking back on it, there were so many people, dude. My dad in high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I went 2 years of being depressed and suicidal. But every day, I look back on it, I'm like I was so depressed. But every day, almost every day, my dad would come in the room and say, "Are you okay?" He would look at me in the eyes, and I would tell him, "I'm fine. I'm fine." But he was there for me every day.
Because he knew.
He knew, but he didn't push me.
No.
But now looking back on it, he was there.
Yeah.
But I felt alone. And even in my childhood, right, I felt alone, but people were there.
It's crazy. Yeah. Boone, like grandfather and grandma were there, like family was there. But it's crazy how like the devil and those situations will blind you.
Yeah.
And will tell you you're alone, and you believe it.
Especially if you went through it as a child.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, it's happened for so long. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're going through, before Aiden prays, if you're going through
I have to pray?
Yeah, well, you're praying. You're going to pray for some of these people, because I know in my heart that there's people going to listening that are going through the same thing. They're struggling. They're dealing with depression. They're dealing with suicide. They're dealing with them not being enough, being a burden, like all that stuff that you've dealt with. And you need to pray freedom and pray God into that mix. But like, if you're dealing with that, there's help.
Yes.
Reach out.
Yes, please reach out to us. If you are dealing with suicide, depression, please reach out to someone that's really close that can help you.
Yeah.
And I know there's hotlines that
talk
can
to
help
a pastor.
out. Yeah.
to somebody that you know. Talk to a family member. Talk to your best friend.
Yeah.
You know, like talk to somebody.
But I think the problem with it when I went through it is I saw that I was alone, but I wanted attention from people. But the people that were giving me attention were the people that mattered.
Yeah.
The people that gave me attention were the people that mattered, and I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
I saw it as the complete opposite. Those people don't want me at all. So every time I had the chance, I would vent to some random person. I promise you. I know what you mean. People know exactly who they are. They know that I vented to them.
Yeah.
They know who they are.
Yeah.
And, God sent me those people, yes. But at the same time, I could have just turned to the people that love me the most.
Yeah.
And I think when you're going through that situation, just be self-aware and look around.
Yeah.
Because think to yourself, maybe I'm being blinded right now.
Yeah. What I love that you said is that you knew your mom was hurting and you went to grandma or my mom and you're like, how can I help her? And she was like, let's just pray.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like that, I think is crucial. Like,
oh, she paved the way for you to run to Jesus.
Yeah.
Man, that picture a third grader praying like every other day.
Come on.
For their mom. Yeah.
Well, that's why you walk, that's why you are where you are, because you prayed.
And then I remember also after Booney said that, it was like, it wasn't too long after you did the whole makeover thing. But you also bought me an iPod Shuffle thing.
Yes.
It was an iPod Shuffle. And
I don't remember that one.
Yeah,
and you taught me,
remember.
You guys taught me how to be in the presence of the Lord.
Oh yeah, it was Sunday school.
Yeah,
we taught Sunday school.
No, it wasn't Sunday school. It was at your house.
Oh, yeah, this is another.
And you guys did. You guys taught me how, and I used that thing until it broke.
Come on.
and I would get caught by my mom or something, praying and worshiping. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I would always feel a little embarrassed, like, oh. Like I'm hiding something. You're like, I'm praising the Lord, Mom. And she's like, okay. So
that's awesome.
There were anchors. So maybe if you're feeling lonely, always remember the anchors that guided you along the way.
Yeah, straight up.
Yes.
Because what seems to be small will be big too in the future.
Yeah.
Once you push past, that anxiety and fear and that mindset, you look back and you're like, this was the piece that actually helped me.
Yeah.
This is how I saw it, but this is what actually helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think some people need to hear that.
Yeah. So, pray it out, Aiden. Come on. Come on. Bring some freedom.
Okay. Father God, I come before you, Lord, and I thank you for, allowing me to share my story and what I've been through, Lord. And I thank you for pulling me out, Lord, and being that anchor, Lord, in that guitar, Lord, or in, those family members that could reach me, Lord. And I just want you to help someone out there that feels alone, Lord, or feels like they're a burden, Lord, or feels like it's their fault, Lord, because it's not. They're not a burden, Lord, and people do care, Lord. And I just ask that you open a door for healing in their life today, Lord. And if it's through this podcast, Lord, or if it's through church, Lord, but just help them today. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this special edition of